So how do emerging programs happen in the education space? So there's a little bit of a flow chart here that we can follow along with, but typically what happens is, our organization, first and foremost, our organization doesn't really settle or work with the status quo. We recognize that our standard programs, reading and math, are very effective and they work. But we are always seeking out new research, new data, new opportunities for innovation, and we always want to be continually improving our programs to meet the needs of students and to meet other community needs. So typically what happens is in step 1 here, new research comes out about what students need to be successful. Some of our own collected data maybe suggests some improvements to our program. Or maybe one of our teachers, our site partners, our community members presents us with an opportunity for innovation. So once we kind of have an idea or something that we want to try out in place, then we really move to consulting some key partners. So that includes our team, which is the program team. We connect with the research and development team at Serve Minnesota. They're really the experts in research, evaluation, and data. Our training and learning team, as well as the community in which we want to try this new idea out in. Once we've kind of established, what we need to do to make this new initiative on the ground happen, once we have a structure and foundation in place, then it's really moved to our box number 3 here. That is when innovations are piloted and launched. So typically it is with a small number of schools and tutors. And it all is dependent on, what funding we have and how big of scale we need. And then we implement on the ground, and we implement for as long as we need to work out tweaks, to work out any kinks that maybe have emerged while we're piloting, as well as give us enough time to collect enough data to do evaluation to make sure that whatever change we are going to be implementing, whatever new pilot program we're implementing, is effective for kids, and that data shows that. The other most important thing that happens in this third box here is the decision to scale. And so we always, as we're thinking, we want to make sure that as we're developing programs that we have in the back of our mind, are we building a foundation and structure that not only works for these select pilot sites, but also works for across the state of Minnesota and our other replication states as well. And then once we kind of have an established structure, an established program, our data is saying that it's good for kids, that's when it really leaves the emerging programs team and transitions to the larger program team for across the board implementation. My team really only holds on to things that are maybe broken and need to be tweaked until they can go into the larger program team. So let's take a look at an example. So this first example I'm going to explain to you is post-exit progress monitoring. So this is a quote from someone named Pete at the Serve Minnesota Research and Development team. So he said, for a few years, we knew there were kids who were exiting from Reading Corps but weren't staying on track. We were seeing that kids were way better off than previously before they worked with us, but many kids just weren't maintaining the level of performance that we always hope Reading Corps supported. So this question came up. We really wanted to know how students were doing after they exited Reading Corps. So for step 2 here, one thing that, was discussed during the second stage, those key partners, was, giving kids some extra practice after they exited. They really started to think about what was the least invasive form of practice that was kind of already baked into the experience that the kids were having with the program. So it was decided that each week, during intervention, tutors would monitor progress of students using a short minute-long assessment of reading fluency. That's what typically was baked in, so they thought, why not we just keep doing that after the student exits intervention. And what they found was that it was really successful, and they were able to do this really smoothly and really quickly because we already had the infrastructure that supported this type of innovation, and the research and development team at Serve Minnesota knew how to really analyze this data to make sure that it was effective for kids. So this was an example of a pretty quick pilot. We made a small tweak. We were able to see that that small tweak to our program was really effective for students, and therefore we we got it out of the emerging programs team. It's now part of the larger programs team and implemented across reading core sites across the country. The second example I'll go over here is the example of PreK Math. So up until about, I would say, the year 2018, the only math support that we provided was through MathCore, and that was specifically targeting grades 4 through 8. However, research had recently come out that it was not just that we needed to make sure that kids were algebra ready by 8th grade, but it was really the foundational skills that students are learning in the pre-K stage that really makes a difference on how well they're doing with math in their later grades. My favorite statistic that came out of this that I thought was most interesting is that there is a direct correlation between a student's math abilities at age 5. It's a direct correlation of the student's abilities at age 5 as they are at age 15. And what that really means is that it is those very, very foundational skills, math skills that are happening in pre-K that are so important. And so again, in stage 1, research suggested that we need to do more math instruction in the pre-K ages. So again, our key partners were consulted, and we recognized that we already have a really effective pre-K literacy program. And so we thought, why not just infuse math instruction and support into that program as well? And so by consulting all of these key partners, what we did is we built a foundation, we built the structure of including math in our standard pre-K program. When that structure and foundation was ready to go, we launched and piloted this brand new pre-K model that included literacy and math to a select number of schools and childcare centers and members to work with kids. And so we piloted and innovated in it. We piloted and developed this pilot over the course of 2 years. Of course, there were a lot of different tweaks that we made to the structure and the foundation in the program. We added some different things. We took away different things that weren't working. And we also gathered enough data to really evaluate what was happening with kids. And we saw that the results were really, really positive. So if you take a look here on this graph, this is just a little bit of data that we collected over those 2 years of piloting this program. So if you take a look at the red line, these are students who are participating in our PreK Math pilot and the percentage of students who were proficient in math based on our benchmark. So in the fall, it was 29%, in the winter, it was 47%, and in the spring, it was 72%. That line compared to the yellow line, which is what we called our comparison group. So the comparison group were students who only got the math benchmark. They did not receive any of the other pilot materials throughout the course of the year. All they received was support in literacy. And you can see that yellow group actually started much more proficient in math in the fall, but did not make as much growth and was not as proficient as our pilot students at the end of the school year in the spring. So what that really told us is we were making a huge, huge positive effect on the students by implementing this PreK Math pilot, that they grew much more in math, and more students were becoming more proficient in math, which was really great. And so after 2 years of piloting and getting this data that showed it was really good for students, what we decided is that it no longer needed to be a pilot, that including math in our pre-K program needed to be standard practice, and now it is. All of our pre-K tutors across the country implement both literacy and math support as part of the program. So you might have seen this slide before with Alana, but here are the emerging programs that we're currently working on. I'm going to focus only on these education programs. So currently right now we have a program called Total Learning Classroom. And this is a K-3 focused literacy program which places tutors in the classroom with students to not only provide intervention support one-on-one, but to also provide core classroom support as well. We also have a family childcare pilot. Family childcare is a pre-K program in which we implement our pre-K curriculum into licensed family childcare centers, so in-home daycares. This was a space that historically had not utilized our programming, but we recognized a lot of need in those spaces, so we developed and adjusted our standard pre-K program to meet the needs of licensed family childcare. We also have a program called Emerging Educators, which really provides specialized mentorship, coaching, and support for individuals who are wanting to become teachers after serving with us. We know that many members come to our program because they're interested in education, and we wanted to make sure that we were being as intentional as possible with individuals in that boat to make sure that they did get on a pathway to teaching by providing them additional support. Kind of mirroring the success that we found with PreK Math, we are also currently developing a math curriculum and program for kiddos in K through 3. We also focus on educator core, so that would be individuals who are already employed at our schools in either a pre-K or K3 setting, and make sure that we're giving them additional training and support on reading and math core interventions. We have a couple of what we call mini pilots in the works, just small tweaks to our education spaces. We also pilot a program with Minneapolis Public Schools in their pre-K setting, as they are using a different benchmark assessment than traditional reading core sites use. And then we also support replication states on our team. So right now, the newest replication state is Mississippi. And so our team really just works on supporting and harboring the programming in different states to make sure it gets off on the right foot, it has a solid foundation to become really successful and scalable across the state. If you ever have any questions about emerging programs, what's going on with our team, details about anything, you can always email me at alison.zellmer@serve2grow.org. Thanks so much.